Alright, now there are many things that are different for these sand shots, and as you improve your technique and become more comfortable, I want you to think about changing a little bit the way you would release the club. In a golf shot, we're trying to rotate our arms so that the club face squares up. Alright? Now, in a bunker shot, it's very helpful to your control if you can keep that club face open a little bit more. So the feeling that I would like you to work on, you're going to hit down into the sand, but try to keep the knuckles of your right hand facing the sand as you come through. This keeps the club face square, prevents any rolling over. It'll give you much more height and much more control. Watch me do one. Now you can see as I finish that my knuckles are still facing the sand. If I let them roll over, I'll have no control of my shots and I'll never be able to get up and down from the bunkers. Once you've got out of the bunkers, you now need to focus on developing another skill. That's being able to control the distance. Now there are several variables and options available to you. Certainly, you could use different lofted clubs. That would be the selection that the tour players would use. You can also change your aim and change your ball position. The squarer you stand to the target, the straighter you come into the back of the ball, and you'll get more distance. The more you stand to the left, the more you cut across, the more height and the softer the shot. The other variable, and this is one that I want to discuss with you now, is different length of swing and different speed of swing. So what we're going to do is to experiment with some different clubs, some different options to see what happens. There's no excuse for not practicing this. If you want to control your distance, you need to get in the bunker, which is what I think we should go and do now. Now, in controlling distance, I'm going to show you the first option, which is changing the aim and changing the ball position. What we're going to see from here is how, as I aim straighter to the target, my swing gets straighter to the hole, I get less cushion from the sand, and my shots will go lower and further. Watch me do one. If I go for the far target, 35 yards, I'm going to square up the face so that the face is now pointing straight at the target. And because of that, I'm going to straighten up my body and you can see what happens. I get much less resistance out of the sand. I get much more momentum on the ball. Straighter shots, further shots. Now let's play one to the short one. I'm 10 meters from the hole. I need a high, soft shot. I'm going to open up the club face. Because of that, I'm going to open up my body. And you can see completely different swing path, completely different reaction in the sand, and, which was what I was looking for, completely different distances. Think about your alignment as an option before you start trying to manipulate the shots yourself. Another variation for controlling distance is by changing your ball position. If you want to go for a longer shot, try putting the ball a little bit further back in your stance. However, when you do this, you have to make sure that you don't start getting onto the ball too quickly. You still need to go for that 2 inches behind the sand. For a medium bunker shot, try it in the middle of your stance. If you want to go really high and soft, you could try it a little bit more forwards, almost to where it's on your toe. I particularly don't favour changing the ball position, but it is an option that some players try, so you should test it and see if it works in your game. The other variables in controlling distance are length of swing and speed of swing. Now, I might, if I'm very close to the flag, want to go for a very long, slow swing, and that depends a little bit on my lie, and it also depends on how close the flag is to the green. There are other times when I'm far away that I might want to go with a little shorter, faster swing. Now, there are no rules, and what works for me might not work for you. So I think the way to go is the only way you can do this is experience, and experience is practice. So my recommendation to you, go to the bunker and you find out your way to do it. Now, unfortunately, I don't always get the lies that I want. I've come over the green and I've found myself where the ball has embedded into the sand and the sand has spread out away from it, which is called a poached egg lie. All I'm trying to do is get out of this situation and back into play. So I make a simple plan, nothing fancy, something I know I can execute. This is what we should be thinking about technically. Put the ball a little further back in your stance because that will help you get a steeper angle of attack. Grip it very slightly open, the club face, because what's going to happen is the club will want to shut down anyway to blast the ball forwards. Slightly open. Now, brace your legs and set your weight far ahead of the ball. And all I'm trying to do as far as the motion is concerned is get the club up into the air and down in a good 2 or 3 inches behind where the ball is lying. That gets you out, it gets you into another place where hopefully you'll have a little bit better luck. Now, I don't know quite what's happened here, but this is one of the worst lies I've ever seen. So we'll have a go and see what's going to happen here. Extremely bad plug lie. I can only see the top third of the ball. What I've got to try and do here is ignore really what the ball's going to do. I have to get in, I have to focus all my attention a good 2 to 3 inches behind the ball and get as steep and aggressive as I possibly can. I'm not even worried about following through. I'm going to let the club head die into the sand and the ball will, at least it will get out of here. So let's have a go. Ball back, club face a little bit more open, hands really ahead, and now, if you're a religious man, a little prayer. That one came out fabulously well, and I'm absolutely delighted. The only way to get better at these is to practice. Go into the bunker, bury some as badly as you can and see what happens. If it happens to you out onto the golf course, make a plan that matches your skills. If you're not very good at this, Don't have an aggressive plan. Get out, chip onto the green, and hopefully you'll hold your putt, which was as good as you were going to do anyway. No other way to do it apart from experience and practice to see how these little guys come out. Good luck. You and I are never going to drive it as far as Tiger Woods. You know, he's stronger, faster, more skillful. And I'm sure at your club there's a guy who intimidates you. You can learn to beat him by improving your putting. If you're an amateur player and you're shooting 90, half your shots could be putts. Why don't amateurs practice their putting more? And I think when I'm speaking to my customers that it's because you don't really know what it is you've got to do. What we're going to do, if you follow along with us now, we're going to discuss the two key elements and how you master them. One is controlling the distance, the other is controlling the direction. Now, many of you wouldn't consider buying a new putter or working on your games, but then you also wouldn't hesitate to mortgage your house if you could buy a driver that would give you another 10 yards. So we're going to reverse this. You're going to practice your putting a lot more, and I'm going to show you what to do. So let's off and go. Now, to hole out these putts, we're going to have to talk about two different elements. And I want you to think about putting in a similar way as firing a gun. Once you've taken your address and you've aimed your weapon, now it's exactly the same as all of the elements that control the direction of the putt. The motion, which is pulling the trigger, is coming from the swinging motion of the shoulders. And I want to separate those into two different elements. We're going to start off with all of the directional elements which come at address. Then we're going to talk about how to create a great motion so that you can send the ball at the correct speed. Aiming is definitely a very visual process, and I think there are three elements that everyone needs to be concerned about with aiming. The first is the position of the eyes. The second is the position specifically of the shoulders and the body. And the next one, and the last one, is the club face. You must have all of those three in a good position and all balanced and matching up together if you expect to start your putts online. Let me show you something. On this putt, what I'm trying to do is to get my putter face exactly square to the target. Supposing that one of these elements is incorrect. Perhaps my shoulders aim too much to the left. What I will learn to do over the period of time is to manipulate my stroke, because if I make a pure shoulder stroke, then I will always start the ball in the same place. So your putting stroke becomes full of manipulations, you'll never be consistent, and you won't save any shots on the putting green. What I want you to do is to find a routine where you can easily find the square position for your shoulders and then pull the trigger. So when you're practicing, you need to practice so you can find that square position every time. There's no point getting over the ball and fiddling around, because by the time you've found the square position, you'll have forgotten the line. Find that square position and pull the trigger. So with this technique and building a solid address position, we have to begin somewhere. And what I would like to discuss is the role of the lower body. I think many amateur players either stand too close together, too wide apart, feet back, feet forwards, not really balanced. You cannot expect your body to react correctly in the stroke if you've got no good base. So let's go through what happens in your lower body. You need a stance that is wide enough to balance you, but not enough to create any tension. But also notice, I flex my knees and I let my hips drop. Now all of the weight is on these big powerful muscles on the front of my quads here. If you can stay with a solid base, it will make your margins for error much, much smaller. So pay a little attention to how you start off. Get your legs and your balance set up. Not too much on the heels, not too much on the toes, just your natural balance point. If you can do that, you're on your way to a better putting stroke. If you're ever wondering why none of your shots ever start on line, first point to check would be your shoulder alignment. The shoulders are really the stabilizing motion and the stabilizing aim for the direction. It's very important that you understand that wherever your shoulders are aiming, that is where your arms are going to swing. As I take my address here, if my shoulders are way open, my arms can only swing out and across the line. So nothing will ever go at the hole, which is why you're spending a lot of shots on the putting green. Pay attention to the shoulder alignment. It is absolutely vital. Hips are less important and feet the least important of all. Find a comfortable posture that allows you to get your shoulders set perfectly. Many professional golfers stand with their feet a little shut because it helps them to get their shoulders squarer. From hitting so many shots, certainly I know my body isn't aligned correctly, and when I stand open. Focus on your shoulders. If you can get your shoulders right, the ball will go in the hole. One of the areas that you really should think about is balance, not only between your heels and your toes, but also between your left foot and your right foot. What I'm looking for is for you to find the balance point that gives you the most level shoulders at address. Level shoulders is going to really help you flatten out your stroke, roll the ball a lot better. And for me, I think, and for most people, you can lean a little bit more to the left to flatten out your shoulders. You can see if I've got too much weight behind the ball, what happens to my shoulders? They automatically tilt. Whatever my shoulders are doing, the same thing is going to happen to the putter. And if my shoulders are aiming up in the air, that's where the putter's going to swing, and the ball will never go in the hole. Now we have to figure out what you should be doing with your arms. The position of your arms is obviously vitally important because that's the link between your shoulders and the putter. And it's not enough just to stand in there with your arms, as you probably know from playing golf. What I want you to do is to go for a couple of things. First, if you just let your arms hang, you'll notice that they're not completely straight. This is a very tense position. They're also not bent either. I want you to find a comfortable position, and don't be afraid to grip down on your putter so that you can accomplish the following things. My arms should really hang straight underneath my shoulders. If you notice, the shaft of the putter and my forearms are perfectly level. That allows me to really support the putter. Also, keep your arms into your side, especially your right side. It's very difficult to coordinate the motion of your arms and your shoulders together if the two aren't connected. So make sure that you've got that little list, and when you go to the putting green, those are some of the things that you should be working on. Okay, now ball position is a very important element of your address position. It makes a huge difference to the quality of the strike, and the strike is what gives us the roll or if you misstrike it, gives you the bounce. If your ball's bouncing across the green, I can guarantee you it's going nowhere near the hole. Now, I want you to have the ball underneath your left eye. I think having the ball too far back promotes you hitting down into the green, and I think if it's in the bridge of your nose or towards your right eye, you'll hit too steeply into the back of the ball. So, under your left eye, and the other thing is, make sure that your hands aren't too far back or too far forward. If you manipulate your hands backwards or forwards, you're changing the loft of the putter. You need to have a little loft to roll the ball across the top of the green. If you've de-lofted it and got your hands ahead, you'll punch it into the green and it'll bounce. Also, if you've got your hands behind as too much loft, you'll chip it. So, here's the test. Take another ball, left eye, right on top of each other, and then remember, hands level with the ball. If you can do those things, you'll be putting it with the best guys in the world. Let's talk a little bit about the putting grip. I think there are two completely different grips that you will have to master. Your putting grip certainly won't work for your full shots and vice versa. And there's a reason why. In the full shots, you're positioning your hands to be able to get maximum leverage from this very fast lever, the wrist joint. Certainly, when you think about your putting, you don't want to have any wrists at all, as we know, the motion is coming completely from the shoulders. What I'm trying to do in my putting grip is to position the putter much more into the palm of my hand. The reason for that is that it will immobilize my wrist joint so that even if I'm tempted to use my wrists, I won't be able to. Let your left thumb sit directly on top of the shaft so that the putter is up into the palm, and then put your left hand fingers on. Now what I like to do to put my hands together and to create a unit so that my hands work as one piece is to just take my left forefinger off so that I've got room to slip the fingers of my right hand into that space. Now, to cement it all together, I'm going to curl this left forefinger over the fingers of my right hand so that my right thumb will go straight down the middle of the shaft as well. This guarantees I'm in a neutral position, I won't have any twisting of my hands. If I had my right hand this way, for instance, I might be tempted to roll it up on top and shut the putter face down. Let's go through that, and so that you can see the pieces, go out onto the practice green and start to roll some. So when I go through my grip routine, the first thing I check is that the putter face is square. I don't want to have it closed, and I don't want to have it open. Set it square, take your left thumb and place it down the center of the shaft so that your left thumb and left thumb pad sit on top of the grip. Now, let your fingers curl of your left hand so that your left thumb goes right down the middle of the shaft. I take my left forefinger off, which is where I'm going to put the fingers of my right hand, put my right thumb straight down the middle of the shaft, and then a final adjustment, curl my left forefinger over the fingers of my right hand, and now I'm in a completely neutral position to be able to roll the ball into the hole. Where do you control distance from? Where is the engine of your putting stroke? You need to understand that the shoulders are the only engine. There is no hand action, there are no arms. You always keep the movement in the shoulders, so that whenever the putter is going to move, it is only because both shoulders, working as a unit, moved. What I'm going to do is show you a few putts, and you can see how important this is. So have a look at this exercise and copy this to really firm up your putting stroke. These 3 points, 1, 2, 3, always stay connected. There's never any independent arm motion either way. Link up your arms, keep your arms into your side, and just practice this motion. You can see at the finish, if I return back to impact or address, that nothing has changed. The shoulder motion works as a pendulum. Both shoulders together. And please note, it's not around or under, it works very much on the same plane. If your shoulders work correctly, you will be able to control distance and you will be able to control the path of the putter head. Watch me hit some different length putts so that you can see long putts or short putts. If I move the putter, it's because my shoulders moved, and that's where the engine of your putting stroke is. Now, the vital thing to understand about the shoulder motion is that if you are going to move the putter any distance at all, even on very, very short putts, you're always going to use your shoulders. So what I'm going to do is to show you 3 different lengths of strokes, and you will see how I never, ever break down this relationship. There's never any hands, there's never any wrists, and there's no independent arm motion. Watch me do this. Even on a tap-in putt, you can see how my shoulders work. Medium length putt and a long putt. Never get into the habit of using your arms to manipulate your stroke. The engine of your putting stroke is your shoulders, exclusively your shoulders. Work on that, and I promise you, your control of distance and ball striking will get much, much better. What we're going to talk about now is how the putter is designed. The putter has a center of gravity, or the sweet spot, and you need to be able to strike the ball out of the sweet spot every time to roll it without any spin. If you strike it a little bit out of the toe, what's going to happen is that the putter will open up and the ball will spin and won't stay on the line. The same as if you do it out of the heel. The toe will shut down, the ball will spin, and again, you'll miss your putt. So find the sweet spot of your putter, and if you suspect that you might be striking out of the toe or the heel, then I'm going to show you a little exercise that will solve that problem straight away and get you back on track. Now, if you're a guy who's having a tough time finding the sweet spot, or even suspect that you might, I want you to do this exercise. What we're going to do is to set this up for a guy who hits it out of the heel of the putter. First of all, you've got to find the sweet spot of your putter. You can bounce across here, or the manufacturer will usually help you out with an alignment aim. Take another club, set it down so that the shaft runs very, very close to the toe of the club. This guarantees I won't be able to move this way and hit it out of the heel because the shaft is in the way. This is the exercise. If you can do this, you can hear sweet hit, dead roll, straight to the back of the cup, and that's how you make these putts. So when I'm setting this up for the player who hits it out of the toe, I'll just do the reverse. Bring the club down, close to the heel, and in this way, I'll never be able to bring the heel back across, hit it out of the toe, and miss my sweet spot. You do this exercise, you'll find the sweet spot, the ball will run truly, straight to the back of the hole, and that's how you start to knock in a few more putts. Now, practicing your putting isn't that much fun, and when you go to the range, it's fun to just pound drivers all day long. But because you put so much time and effort into building up your putting stroke, I think these few games will really help you build the skills that you will need out on the golf course. So watch me set a few games up, you go and try them, see how much better you can get, and you'll stop throwing away those irritating shots. So the first exercise, going to do is short putts. Go to somewhere quiet on your golf course. Measure out this critical distance. And 4 different slots around the hole should give you 4 different breaks. So, don't just whack them in, line them up, go through your routine like you're out on the golf course. And in that way, you will learn to become a great short putter. So have a look at these exercises for your putting. When you go out onto the golf course and you have to hole that vital putt to win the game, if you've been practicing it a lot, you've got a great chance of pulling it off when it really counts.